Hi guys, welcome back to TOEFL with Juva. I scored 30 in TOEFL writing and today I'm going to show you how you can write an essay for the TOEFL writing task 2 that gets you a score above 24. We are going to write this essay together, step by step. By the way, if you want to get more tips for the TOEFL and download templates, hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss the next video. Let's get started. Let's start with the essay. What you can see here is the prompt. This means this is the question you must answer in your essay. Let's have a look at the prompt. What does the prompt say? The prompt says, some people prefer interactive classes, others prefer to only listen to the teacher speak. Which do you prefer? Use specific reasons and examples to support your answer. That's exactly what we are going to do now. We are going to write an essay and we answer this question. But before you start writing your essay, you should first take a few notes. Why should you do that? You should take notes for two reasons. The first reason is that you must make sure that you answer the question appropriately. This is really important if you want to get a high score in TOEFL writing. You must provide a direct answer to the question asked. And in this respect, it's really useful if you jot down a few keywords in the beginning and think about the question more deeply. The second reason is that it may be that you are very nervous when writing your TOEFL essay and you forget some of your reasons or examples. So taking notes in advance can prevent you from having a blackout because you can have a look at your notes. This will calm you down, the whole situation will be less stressful and everything will be okay. Of course, our essay will consist of an introduction, a body and a conclusion. But I will only take notes regarding my reasons here and examples. Well, okay, because this will be the bulk of my essay, these will be the most important points. But first I have to decide which option I prefer. So let's say I prefer interactive classes, okay? And I want to provide two reasons and two corresponding examples. So first I'm going to jot down some keywords regarding my first reason. Of course, if you're taking the TOEFL in the test center, you will take notes on a separate sheet of paper. If you're taking the TOEFL Home Edition, you will write on a transparency sheet or a keyboard. But for convenience, I'm going to write this down on the same page here, okay? And also guys, just for your information, the question I'm using here is not taken from ETS or any other source. I made this question up, but it's a question as you would encounter it in the TOEFL, so it's quite realistic. Let's start with the first reason. My first reason will be that I think interactive classes are great because they help people gain a better understanding of the topic. We all know that when we are discussing stuff with others, we tend to remember it for a longer period of time and we tend to view the topic from different points of view. And I think, yeah, interactive classes are great just because of that, because they help you understand the topic better. So I'm going to write down a few keywords regarding this reason. So I'm just going to write down better understanding of topic. Okay? And then I want to provide an example for this reason. So this will be my first example. And I remember that I once took some courses at university and some of these courses were interactive and others were non-interactive. And I realized that in the interactive courses, I was able to remember the topic for a longer period of time and I gained a deeper knowledge in this topic. So this will be my example that supports my reason. So I'm just going to write down, okay, there were courses I took. Some were interactive and others were non-interactive. I'm just abbreviating interactive here. I know that int dot means interactive. You don't have much time in TOEFL writing, so I can recommend abbreviating words. I'm going to provide a few details here. I will talk about group work. Group work, okay. And I will talk about that I remembered the things for a longer period of time. So I say remember, and I gain a deeper knowledge. So this is totally sufficient regarding my first example. Now I'm going to talk about my second reason. My second reason will be that I think interactive classes are better because they help improve one's communication skills, because when students take interactive classes, they have to talk to others, they have to talk about their arguments, they have to defend their arguments against counter arguments, and I think this can prove really useful regarding one's communication skills. So I'm just writing down, what's happening here? I'm just writing down improve communication skills. Okay, and then of course I'm providing a second example to support this reason. And I remember that I once took a neuroscience course, and in this course I had to do a lot of presentations, I had to discuss with others, and this course enabled me to speak in public. I learned how to speak in public because I participated in this course, and I think this was mainly because of group work we did and because we were discussing things. In a sense, this was because this course was highly interactive. So I'm just writing down neuroscience course. And speak in public. Let's start writing our introduction. It's important that your introduction consists of 3 sentences. The first sentence is the hook. The hook is a sentence that introduces the topic and catches the reader's attention. So what we are doing in the hook is just rephrasing the information given in the prompt so that the reader knows what your essay will be about. So our essay will be about whether we prefer interactive or non-interactive classes, right? So I'm first going to rephrase a sentence given in the prompt. So for example, you could write, whereas some people like studying in an interactive environment, others prefer not having to participate in a class. Now you have to answer the question given in the prompt. This means you must write your thesis. This is your opinion. You are providing a direct answer to the question asked. And the question is, which do you prefer? This is our question, okay? And you need to answer this question. And in the beginning I said, okay, I prefer interactive classes. So I'm going to tell the reader exactly that. I say, okay, personally, I prefer classes that ask students to interact with one another and their teacher. Whoop. You can see I made a typo here. You should always check whether there is a typo in your sentence because this is really important. There shouldn't be any mistakes. I also made one here. Okay, I disabled the autocorrection here because this is exactly the situation that you will encounter in the TOEFL. So this means I need to pay attention to write everything correctly. Good. Now we are going on with the transition. The transition is a sentence that leads from the introduction to the body paragraphs. So I'm just going to tell the reader, okay, now comes the body paragraph, and in this body paragraph I will talk about my reasons to support my thesis. So I'm just saying I feel this way for 2 reasons, which I will examine in this essay. Okay, this is our introduction. Just writing that here down, introduction. So what did we do? We stated what the essay will be about, and then we stated our opinion. So I said here, personally, I prefer, okay? This is my answer to the question. And then I wrote a transition to say, okay, now I'm going to talk about my reasons. This leads directly to the body paragraph so that the reader knows what comes next. I'm going on writing the body paragraph now. I'm starting with my first reason. And I told you before that my first reason will be that in interactive classes, students have the possibility to get a better understanding of the topic. So I'm writing exactly that. I'm writing, first of all, interactive classes help students gain a better understanding of the topic. Okay, that arrow was too big. Just like that. What I did here is I started my sentence with first of all. This indicates that this is my first reason and my first body paragraph. This is a transition. You could also call this a linking word, and I can highly recommend using these transitions because they can really boost your score. If you want a TOEFL score above 24, you should definitely use a lot of transitions. And guys, don't forget the comma. If you use a transition at the beginning of a sentence, you always need to use a comma after the transition, okay? Now you should not immediately go on with your example because you should elaborate a bit on your reason. You should explain your reason. I tell the reader here, okay, interactive classes can help. There is a P missing. What is going on today? Can help students gain a better understanding of the topic. And now I have to explain why. Why do interactive classes help students gain a better understanding of the topic? So I'm just going on and writing, obviously, if students do not interact with others, they only adapt one way of thinking. And in contrast, if they discuss the topic in a group, they are necessarily confronted with different ideas. Consequently, they must critically think about these ideas, which expands their minds. As a result, they learn much more than those students who only know their point of view. Okay, what I've done here is I told the reader, look, this is my reason interactive classes help students gain a better understanding of the topic, and then I explained my reason. Why is this like that? It's very important that you do that, guys. So I'm just writing down here, oops, this is my reason. It's reason 1, okay? And I provided an explanation. Okay, so let's have a look at this first part of the paragraph. What I did here is I used a lot of transitions. I used in contrast. I used obviously, as a result, and consequently. Try to use a few of them, because this way you show the examiner that you have a broad range of vocabulary and that you know how to use these words correctly. And also this helps you structure your essay, because as you can see here, I use in contrast to contrast interactive and non-interactive classes. I use consequently to show that I am going to talk about a consequence. This just helps the reader understand my ideas. What I also did, I used two if clauses. Admittedly, these if clauses are rather easy. I will use a more complex if clause later. It's really important that you use if clauses, guys, because if clauses are in general not so easy to write, and they show that you can handle English grammar. So if you want to score above 24 in TOEFL writing, definitely use some if clauses. I'd recommend using at least one per body paragraph. Now we are going on with the example. I want to provide an example to strengthen my reason. I told you before that I'm going to talk about some courses I took. Some were interactive and some were non-interactive. And in the end I realized that I had learned more in the interactive courses, so I'm going to talk about that. I'm starting my sentence with for example, to signal to the reader that I'm going to talk about my example. Okay, this is important. At university, I took some courses which required a lot of group work, and others where I only listened to what the teacher said. At the end of my studies, I realized that I had acquired a much broader and deeper knowledge in those courses where I had interacted with others than in those where I had merely listened to the teacher speak. I'm going on saying, furthermore, I managed to remember the topics of the interactive classes for quite some time, while I quickly forgot those of the non-interactive classes. Hence, interacting with others did not only help me understand the subject better, but also enabled me to remember the relevant information for a longer period of time. Good, so this is our example here, our first example. Oh, this is a bit too big. So let's have a look what we did. So I say, for example, to introduce my example. This is really important, guys. The reader has to know that you are going to talk about your example now. And then again, I used some transitions here. I used furthermore, I used hence. And as I said before, don't forget the comma here. Okay, this is really important. And as you can also see, I used different transitions. So, for example, here I used consequently, which basically means the same as hence, but I used hence here, and I did not use consequently again. So make sure that you use different transitions, because this shows that you know a lot of vocabulary, okay? Now we have talked about our first reason, we have explained that reason, and we have provided an example to strengthen that reason. And what we are going to do next is we go on with our second reason. So, reason 2, I am going to introduce this paragraph with second. to indicate that I'm going to talk about my second reason now. My second reason was that interacting with others improves people's communication skills, so I'm going to write exactly that. I say interacting with others allows students to improve their communication skills. So second. Now I have to explain this reason. I have to explain why interacting with others improves one's communication skills. So I'm going on and say, evidently, if they have to discuss a specific topic with others, they must present their ideas, explain them, and defend them against counter arguments. Thus, students learn how to communicate their ideas appropriately. It is clear that this skill can prove very useful in the future. So this is my first reason. What did I do here? I introduced my paragraph by second. I used evidently, again a transition, thus again a transition. First reason. No, sorry. This is my second reason, of course. And the corresponding explanation. Good. Now I'm going on with my example, my second example. So make sure, guys, that if you talk about your second example, you don't use the same expression again you used before in your first body paragraph here, okay? Don't use for example again if you used it before, use for instance or use something different. I'm using a sentence now. I'm writing, this is best demonstrated by my personal experience. I told you before that I want to talk about my neuroscience course where there were a lot of discussions and presentations and I learned how to speak in public. So that's why I think interactive classes are a good thing. So I'm just going to talk about that now. I tell the reader, okay, I once enrolled in a neuroscience course where discussions and presentations constituted a major part of the course. At the beginning, I struggled with this format because I was not used to speaking in public. In fact, defending my arguments in front of a crowd was a huge challenge for me. Surprisingly, after some time, I found it quite natural to speak in public. And I even tried to seize every opportunity to get more practice. Nowadays, I do not have any problems at all to communicate my ideas. I am sure that if this neuroscience course had not been interactive, I would not have learned how to speak in public. So this is my second example. Okay, example number 2. So let's have a look what we did. I talked about my personal experience. I said, okay, this will be my example now. The reader knows that. And then again, I used a few transitions. I used in fact, I used surprisingly. And here, oh, I'm just seeing that I forgot an O here. So yeah, always check your text for typos. So I told you before, guys, that you should use if clauses, and here, as you can see, I'm using a more complex if clause. Definitely try to use these. If you want to get a TOEFL score above 24, it's really important that you use if clauses, and also that you use if clauses that are more complex, because you need to show ETS that you can handle English grammar, okay? That you can handle English grammar that is more complex. So definitely use if clauses. So what we are going to do next is we are going to write a conclusion. I'm starting my conclusion with in conclusion to show the reader that I'm going to talk about my conclusion now, okay? What you need to do in your conclusion is you need to restate your thesis and your 2 reasons. And you should make sure that you rephrase everything. So do not use the exact same words that you used before, because you want to show ETS that you have a broad range of vocabulary and that you know many words, okay? You want to show ETS that you deserve a high TOEFL writing score. You must show them that. First, I'm going to restate my thesis, and this means I'm not going to write, I prefer classes that ask students to interact. I already did that, so I'm just rephrasing the sentence. I'm saying, okay, I'm of the opinion that those classes which require interaction are better than non-interactive classes. Good. So I restated my thesis, I rephrased everything, that's fine. Now I'm going to talk about my 2 reasons. I'm restating them, I'm writing, this is because, yeah, this is because reason 1 and reason 2. Such classes allow students to gain a broad, in-depth and long-lasting knowledge of the subject, and because they provide a great opportunity to improve their communication skills. Good. So what I did here, I told the reader this is because, and because, well, what happened here? These are my 2 reasons. I restated my 2 reasons, so this is the first reason. That's that one here, okay? That one. And this is my second reason. I was talking about this reason here. Okay, so I'm referring to that. The conclusion is the final opportunity to convince the reader of your opinion. It's your final opportunity to answer the question directly, and it's also the last chance to show ETS that you deserve a score above 24. So you should definitely put some thought in your conclusion. This here. So this here is our conclusion, okay? This is our essay, guys. This essay has 463 words. In Task 2, in TOEFL Writing, you should aim at about 380 words at least. I'd recommend writing about 400 words or more, okay? Always remember that the word count in the TOEFL is just a minimum requirement. So it's always good to write a bit more than that. It doesn't have to be much. With 463 words, we are definitely on the safe side. That's fine. But try to write a bit more. Let's quickly think about what we did here. We wrote an essay that provides a direct answer to the question asked. Which do you prefer? interactive or non-interactive classes, our essay consists of an introduction, a body paragraph, and a conclusion. If you guys want to know more about how to write an introduction, a body, or a conclusion, have a look at my videos about that. You can find the links in the description below. In these videos, I explain exactly how you can write each part of such an essay. So if you want to know more about that, feel free to watch these videos. I quickly want to talk about some score boosters that you should use in your essay if you want to score above 24. Make sure that you are using the right structure. Write an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. Make sure that you use transitions. Show ETS that you know a lot of vocabulary, and show them that you can write a well-structured essay, and also use if clauses. Show ETS that you can handle more complex English grammar, and try to go a bit over the word count. That's it. This is how you write an essay for the independent task in TOEFL writing. I hope this video was helpful to you guys. If you like, download the essay. You can find the link in the description below. Use it for your TOEFL preparation. And if you want to know more about the TOEFL and download templates, hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss the next video. I'd love to see you here next time. Bye bye.